Hi everyone, welcome back to Headlines, where we round up the week's most significant news stories for all of you guys. Let's kick things off with President Trump's impeachment. On the 15th of January, the US House of Representatives delivered President Trump's articles of impeachment to the Senate, kicking off the president's trial. So, if you haven't been following this really closely, here's your catch-up. The House of Representatives voted to start the impeachment of Donald Trump on December 18, 2019, for abusing his power after he attempted to get Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to announce an investigation into Hunter Biden in exchange for not withdrawing critical military aid. Hunter Biden is the son of Trump's possible presidential competitor, Joe Biden. As it happens, the military aid was held up, and people started asking questions. The trial kicked off on Tuesday, with Republicans uniting to reject the idea of calling any witnesses. Trump's team have called this trial a farce, and after a bitter battle with lawyers, the Senate has now adopted the rules of trial. The Senate will reopen as a court of impeachment again today afternoon, where they'll hear the opening statement of the impeachment managers. It looks like this impeachment inquiry isn't going to be peachy for the Democrats. Good news, the trade war is ending. Sort of. China's Vice Premier Liu He and President Donald Trump met to sign a Phase 1 trade deal that suspended trade hostilities between the USA and China. The new deal means that China has to purchase more US agricultural goods, amongst other things, in exchange for America withholding further tariffs. Another show of Trump's raw machismo and his ability to extract whatever he wants from other people. Most of the penalties that both sides have imposed on each other remain in place. Experts are saying that President Xi is on a mission impossible. Under this agreement, China has to buy $200 billion of US goods over the next 2 years. In that agreed amount, it has to buy $40 billion of farm goods. China insists it will buy these at market value and that they'll do it without affecting imports from other countries. That's going to be interesting because since the beginning of the trade war, China has been importing soybeans from Brazil for less than it would buy them from the USA. Data from last week showed that China's global exports grew by 0.5% in dollar terms last year, the weakest rate in 3 years. Its exports to America fell by 12.5%. Huawei's chief financial officer was in court in Canada on the 21st of January fighting against the extradition to the USA. China is furious at Meng Wanzhou's arrest in 2018 and has defended her innocence. Meng is the daughter of Huawei's legendary founder Ren Zhengfei. The US has asked Canada to arrest Meng because Huawei was accused of not being honest with banks about its involvement in business with Iran, since the USA has imposed sanctions against Iran. Under Canadian law, a suspect can only be extradited to another country if the crime that they are charged with is also a crime in Canada. Interesting. Huawei represents China's progress as a global technological power and has been subject of US security concerns for years. In fact, some sources say that the US government thinks that it's actually a surveillance company used for spying. But Huawei can fix this. When there's a will, there's Huawei. Tesla. In 2015, more Teslas were bought in Hong Kong than any other brand of car. Now, the company is worth more than Ford and General Motors combined, valued at $93 billion. So, after a couple of long drawn-out elongated scandals and near constant chaos like CEO Elon Musk breaking the unbreakable window of the Cybertruck at its grand launch, the company finally seems to be running smoothly. What does CEO Elon Musk plan to do with all of this cash? Well, Tesla has had problems keeping up with deliveries to customers since they announced the release of the Model 3 a couple of years ago. So, opening up a new factory in China and plans to build one in Germany to boost their production rates are part of the new spending plan. China saw a huge spike in the reported cases of the sudden mystery fever outbreak last week. At the time of recording, 9 people had died from the disease, which has spread to several other countries. Chinese officials believe that the virus started in a wet market in Wuhan, where people were illegally also selling wildlife, and have warned that it could mutate. They have advised people not to visit or leave Wuhan. The virus, temporarily named 2019 nCoV, is called a coronavirus, the same kind of virus responsible for SARS. At first glance, this type of virus isn't anything special. It's common amongst animals, and in humans cause illnesses similar to the common cold, which are usually not severe. But coronaviruses have one trait that makes them particularly hard to contain. They're zoonotic, meaning that they have the ability to jump between animals and humans, and this makes the mystery fever outbreak even more dangerous. But not to worry, the Chinese government has said that we shouldn't panic, but to stay away from crowds and avoid Wuhan at all costs, something which will probably be very tough to do, as hundreds of millions of people travel in and out of China for the festivities of Chinese New Year. And our final story for today isn't a headline as much as it's been a continuing story in one of Asia's most powerful and populous countries, India. On the 4th of December last year, India passed the Citizenship Amendment Act, which granted citizenships to immigrants who, fleeing religious violence, came into the country prior to 2014 from Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. But the citizenship offer only applies to non-Muslims. This sparked a wave of protests in cities all over the nation, as Indians have become wary of the changing mindset of the Indian government. The last few weeks have seen the protests against the CAA reaching dangerous heights. Indian hospitals recorded 175 injuries, 27 deaths, including 3 children, and an estimated 3,000 arrests. And things don't seem to be de-escalating. The Indian Home Minister has made it clear that the government has no intention of backing down on the CAA. Chinese New Year is coming up, and here's wishing all of you happiness and prosperity in the Year of the Rat. We'll be taking a break from headlining for the next 2 weeks, and we'll be back in the second week of February. Kung Hei Fat Choi.